Today, you're going to discover something that could change your life forever. Because while most people believe spotting a man's lies is a gift reserved for a select few, you're about to unlock the power that Carl Jung spoke about, reading his truth in less than 10 seconds. This isn't just another video, it's training for your soul. I'm going to guide you from being the woman who doubts and suffers in silence to becoming that older, wiser woman who can see beyond a man's words and uncover, with just one look, the truth he thinks he can hide. I want you to pay close attention because what you're going to learn today will make sure no man ever fools you again. So go ahead and hit like right now and subscribe. It's completely free for you, and it helps me enormously. Also, share this video with someone you know who needs it. All right, let's get started. Secret 1. The look that doesn't lie. The micro-expression that reveals his truth. There's a truth few people dare to tell you. A man can perfect his speech, his strategy, and his excuses, but he can never fully control his eyes. Because the eyes are the direct gateway to the unconscious, and no mental tactic can hide what his energy field is transmitting through his gaze. Carl Jung used to say that the body never lies, and the eyes are the most brutal and revealing silent language of the human soul. That's why today I want you to learn something most people never do. Something that doesn't matter whether you're 20, 50, or 70 years old. Age doesn't extinguish intuition, it strengthens it. This secret belongs to you because you've lived, you've loved, you've lost, and you've been reborn. And now your experience will become your most sacred gift. To help you fully grasp this first secret, I'm going to tell you the story of Helen, a 58-year-old woman who had been dating Albert, a 60-year-old man, for 3 years. They met in a meditation circle, and from the very beginning, Albert seemed like a different kind of man, attentive, spiritual, with profound words and promises of real connection. After a marriage full of infidelity and pain, Helen felt that she had finally found a mature man who knew what he wanted. But something started to bother her. It wasn't what he said, it was how he looked at her when he said it. And here's the mystical secret you need to etch into your soul. When a man lies, his words might be perfect, but his gaze reveals the crack in his deception. First micro-expression, the diagonal eye shift. When a man lies and his lie requires creativity, his eyes tend to drift upward and to his left, which is your right if you're facing him. Why? Because neurologically, he's creating a story, not remembering one. The brain hemisphere active during that gesture is the creative side, not the memory side. Second micro-expression, rapid interrupted blinking. When a man tells the truth, his blink rate is natural and relaxed. When he's lying, his autonomic nervous system triggers unconscious microstress, causing his blink rate to speed up. But then it suddenly stops when he needs to check your reaction to adjust his story. Third micro-expression, micro-tension around the eyes. When a man looks you in the eye while telling the truth, his orbicular muscles are relaxed, and his upper eyelids stay calm. When he's lying, subtle tension lifts his upper eyelids slightly, as though his eyes open a millimeter wider to quickly scan your emotional reaction. These micro-expressions last less than 2 seconds, but if your awareness is trained, you'll see them as if time has stopped. Helen started noticing these gestures in Albert every time she asked him, "Where were you yesterday after meditation?" He would answer in a soft, convincing voice, but his eyes would shift upward and to the left. His blink rate would spike and then stop abruptly as he locked eyes with her, and his eyelids would open just a bit wider, like a wolf assessing the reaction of its prey. Here's the brutal revelation of this secret. Don't just listen to his words, watch his eyes. Because his unconscious, the part that Carl Jung described as the true ruler of human behavior, cannot lie through his gaze. After weeks of silently observing, Helen found her strength. She no longer needed physical evidence, secret messages, or witnesses. Her intuition, backed by the science of micro-expressions, was her truth. One day when Albert looked at her with that same combination of micro-expressions and said, "You're the only woman who matters to me," Helen smiled calmly and replied, "What you're saying sounds beautiful, but your eyes are telling me another story." She stood up, picked up her purse, and left without drama, without tears, without confrontations. Because a woman who knows how to read a man's eyes no longer needs explanations. And here's the final integration of this secret. A man can lie with his mouth, but his eyes always betray his real vibration. When you learn to look beyond his words, you'll see in 10 seconds what used to take you years to discover. Stay tuned, because in the next secret, you'll discover how his voice, his frequency, and his energetic vibration change when he lies, and how to sense his truth even with your eyes closed. What's coming will turn you into the woman no man can ever deceive. Secret 2. The vibrational shift in his voice. How his energetic frequency warns you. Before we continue, if this message is already stirring something inside you, subscribe right now and hit like. That way, we let YouTube know this content is valuable and worth recommending. Thank you so much. Now that you know the silent language of his gaze, it's time to dive into an even deeper secret. One that you can't just see but actually feel in every cell of your body. Because a man's truth isn't just something you see, it's something you feel vibrating. Carl Jung said that energy never lies, and the voice is one of the most revealing energetic channels of the human unconscious. His tone, his rhythm, his vibration, all of it emits the exact frequency of his inner truth, no matter how perfect his words might be. Let me tell you the story of Rose, 49, married to Louis, 52. They'd been married for 20 years, had 2 grown kids, owned their own home, and lived a life that looked perfectly normal to everyone around them. But for months, Rose had felt a dark emptiness forming in her chest every time Louis spoke to her. He no longer shared things with the same enthusiasm he once had. His words were correct, but his voice sounded different, as if something in his vibration had changed, and his soul didn't know how to explain it. One afternoon, while they were making dinner together, Rose asked him, "Are you okay, honey? You seem distant." Louis gave a gentle smile and said, "Of course I'm fine. It's just work stressing me out." But his voice didn't sound tired. It sounded empty. And that tone triggered an alarm in Rose's body so strong that she felt a chill run down her spine. Here's the brutal revelation of this secret. When a man lies, the energetic vibration in his voice changes before he's even aware of it. Why does this happen? Because the human voice isn't just air and words. It's the vibrational translation of his inner state. When he's telling the truth, his voice flows naturally, with rhythm and coherence. When he's lying, his autonomic nervous system triggers microstress, and his voice changes in 3 ways. First change, slight tension in the larynx. His larynx tightens slightly, causing his voice to sound higher-pitched or strained at certain moments in his speech. Second change, micro-pauses in rhythm. When lying, his voice loses its natural flow, and tiny pauses appear before key words, as if his brain needs half a second to align the lie with his body language. Third change, low-frequency vibration. Even if his tone sounds the same, the vibration behind the voice carries a different frequency, a vibration of contraction rather than expansion, of closing off instead of opening up. It's a feeling that can't be explained with logic, but your body feels it as a microelectric shock in your chest or stomach. That was the change Rose picked up in Louis. Days went by, and every time he spoke about work, his voice showed those 3 changes. It sounded higher at the start of his sentences. He made slight pauses before mentioning his boss's name or the word meeting, and his energetic vibration felt cold and tense, like an invisible cloud hanging over their home. One night, Rose decided to look him in the eyes while he talked and listened, not just with her ears, but with her sense of vibration. Louis came home late, and when she asked, "How was your day?" he answered with the same smile and the same old excuse, but his voice was vibrating in contraction. Rose took a deep breath, and instead of confronting him with shouting, simply said calmly, "Today your voice sounds different, like you're hiding something from me. Don't worry, you don't have to answer me right now. When your soul is ready to tell me the truth, I'll be here." Louis froze, staring at her in silence, as if his unconscious suddenly realized there was nothing left to hide. 2 days later, he confessed. He'd been seeing another woman from his office for several months. Here's the final integration of this secret. Don't just listen to his words. Feel his vibration. A man's voice is a direct portal to his unconscious truth. His tone, his rhythm, and his energetic frequency always reveal what his mouth is trying to conceal. And get ready, because in the next secret, you'll discover the subtle contradiction between his words and his body that his unconscious can never hide, and that will allow you to see his lies even before he speaks them. What's coming will make you the woman impossible to deceive. Secret 3. The subtle contradiction, the tiny incoherence. His unconscious cannot hide. Now I want your full attention because you're about to learn how to see his lie before he's even finished speaking. Because every man who lies makes a mistake. His unconscious can never maintain absolute coherence. Carl Jung used to say that the unconscious projects its contents through failed acts. What does that mean? That no matter how trained a man's mind is at crafting his words, his body and his energetic vibration can't keep up. There will always be a micro-incoherence, a tiny contradiction that reveals everything to you in seconds. Let me tell you the story of Gabriel, 52 years old, married for 27 years to Hector, a serious man, a provider, who rarely showed deep emotions. To everyone around them, they seemed like the strong, stable, respected couple. But Gabriel felt something had changed. Hector started coming home late without telling her. His messages grew shorter. His touch had become automatic, soulless, without passion. One night while they were having dinner, Gabriel decided to ask him, "Are you okay, honey? You've seemed distant lately." Hector looked up from his plate and replied in his usual firm voice, "Of course I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be?" But here's the brutal revelation of the secret. Gabriel didn't listen to his words. Gabriel saw the subtle contradiction. What was that contradiction? His words said yes, but his body said no. When Hector answered, "Of course I'm fine," his head made an almost imperceptible side-to-side motion of denial. A tiny contradiction between his affirmative words and his body language revealing the unconscious truth. This micro-gesture lasts less than a second, but if your awareness is sharp, you'll see it as though time stands still. Here's the mystical secret behind micro-incoherence. The body always either validates or invalidates the words, because as Jung taught, the unconscious is the true ruler of our reality. And while a man can train his words, he can never fully control his unconscious. Gabrielle stayed silent. She didn't confront him right then. But that night, while he slept beside her, she lay staring at the ceiling, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't need to shout, search his phone, or dig through his pockets. She had already seen the truth. Here are the most common, subtle contradictions that expose his lie in seconds. 1. Body denial during verbal affirmation. If he says, "Of course I love you," while his head makes a slight side-to-side shake, a denial gesture, his body's revealing the truth his mouth cannot speak. 2. Micro shrug of the shoulders in statements of certainty. If he says, "I swear nothing happened," and his shoulders rise just 1 centimeter and drop again, his body is saying, "I'm not sure." A shrug is an unconscious signal of doubt or insecurity. 3. Asymmetrical smile when denying something serious. If he denies something significant, like flirting or cheating, but his smile curls more strongly on one side of his face, that micro gesture reveals a hidden pleasure in getting away with it, or the inner tension of lying. 4. Sudden stillness. When a man is telling the truth, his body remains relaxed and his posture shifts naturally. When he lies, his nervous system activates a micro-freeze, as though he's trying not to move at all for fear of revealing more. 5. Tension in the hands or clenched fists. If he hides his hands or keeps them tightly clenched while speaking, his unconscious is triggering a defensive mechanism. Gabriel began noticing all these micro-contradictions in Hector over the following days. When they talked about family finances, his body language was strong and open. But when they discussed why he was coming home late, his shoulders rose and fell slightly. His hands disappeared under the table, and his voice lost its natural flow, with pauses before words like meeting or colleagues. One afternoon, after a week of silent observation, Gabriel calmly said to him, "You don't have to explain anything to me. Your body has already told me everything." Hector said nothing, but his shoulders slumped forward as if a ton of weight had suddenly dropped onto his back. Here's the final integration of this secret. Words can lie, but the body never does. The subtle contradiction between what he says and what his body expresses is the fastest gateway to his truth. And you, awakened woman, no longer need to confront him with shouting. Your silent awareness will be enough for his unconscious to surrender to your truth. And listen closely, because in the next secret, you're going to learn how to activate the most powerful gift that life and experience have already given you, your trained intuition. You'll discover how to trust it so deeply that no man's words will ever be able to deceive you again. Secret 4, your trained intuition. How to activate the gift your experience gave you. This secret is the most powerful of all because it doesn't come from anything outside of you. It comes from within you. Carl Jung said that intuition is the perception of the invisible patterns of the soul, the things your logical mind cannot grasp, but your spirit recognizes instantly. And today I want to remind you of something you might have forgotten. Every pain you've lived through, every betrayal that broke you, every night you cried silently while he slept beside you, were seeds that, even though they hurt as they sank into your inner soil, gave you the most sacred gift of all, an intuition sharpened by the experiences of your life. Let me tell you the story of Marianne, 56 years old, married for 30 years to Julian, a woman noble, devoted, loving, who always believed in the power of true love. During the first 2 decades of their marriage, Marianne trusted Julian completely. He was attentive, responsible, respected by everyone, always quick with the right words to soothe any doubt. But over time, that certainty began to crack. Not because he said anything different, but because her soul felt something was off. Julian began coming home later than usual. His mood shifted without explanation. His gaze no longer held hers with the same depth. Marianne would ask him, "Is everything okay between us?" And he'd answer with his usual calm voice and half smile, "Of course, my love, I'm just tired." But Marianne's body would tense up. Her chest would tighten as if an invisible fist were squeezing it. Her breath grew shallow. Her stomach trembled with a wordless premonition. That is feminine intuition, a language without words, a silent wisdom that your logical mind tries to suppress because it has no physical proof. But your spirit already knows the truth. Here's the brutal revelation of this secret. Your intuition is not some mystical gift that only a few women have. Your intuition is the result of every experience you've ever lived and how your soul has integrated it. How to activate your trained intuition? 1. Silence the external noise. Every time you doubt his truth, don't rush to seek answers from social media, friends, or even therapists. First, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what do I feel in my body when I think about this situation? If you feel expansion, peace, or warmth, his truth is likely genuine. If you feel contraction, pressure, trembling, or emptiness, his energy is not aligned with his words. 2. Recognize your body's language. Intuition doesn't speak in long sentences. It speaks through physical sensations. A chill, a flutter in your solar plexus, sudden discomfort, or sudden fatigue just from hearing his words. 3. Honor the whispers before they become screams. Intuition whispers first. If you don't listen, it starts to shout. If you still don't listen, it hurts. If you still don't listen, it destroys. 4. Trust your soul more than his words. Whenever you feel that deep sense that something isn't adding up, even if he swears 1,000 times that everything is fine, honor your intuition. You don't have to confront him immediately. Just observe, confirm, and choose from your place of power. 5. Strengthen your intuition with daily presence. Intuition doesn't suddenly appear during a crisis if you haven't practiced it during moments of calm. Every morning before reaching for your phone, sit in silence and ask, what do I need to hear from my inner wisdom today? Even if nothing comes at first, you're training the channel. Marianne began this process. Each time Julian came home late and her intuition trembled in her chest, instead of confronting him, she breathed and listened. She noticed his evasive gaze, the chill in his voice, the tension in his shoulders. Her intuition no longer needed physical proof to confirm what she already knew. Until one morning, while having breakfast, Marianne looked him in the eyes and calmly said, I don't know who you're with or what you're looking for out there. I only know that my body no longer feels safe with you, and I've decided to honor my intuition above any man. That day didn't end her marriage. That day began her freedom. Here's the final integration of this secret. Your intuition is your soul's voice guiding you toward the truth. It's not irrational distrust. It's the accumulated wisdom of every experience you've lived. A woman who honors her intuition will never again be deceived by empty words. And listen closely, because in the next and final secret, you'll discover how your silent reaction becomes his revealed truth, and how without saying a single word, you can make his unconscious confess what his mouth doesn't dare to speak. What's coming next will be the final seal of your absolute power. Secret 5, the power of your silent reaction. How your calm unmasks him without you saying a word. You've made it this far, discovering secrets most women never learn in their entire lives. His gaze that never lies, the hidden vibration in his voice, the tiny contradictions his unconscious cannot hide, and the gift of your trained intuition, a sacred gift life has given you through every wound. But today we arrive at the final secret, one that, if you apply it, will completely transform the power dynamic in any relationship. Because the silent reaction of a conscious woman is not indifference, it's pure vibrational sovereignty. Carl Jung said there's nothing more intimidating for a man than the silence of a woman who has already seen the truth. Let me tell you the story of Beatrice, 41 years old, married for 17 years to Joseph. A serious man, respected and admired for his work and discipline. For nearly 3 decades, Beatrice was everything to him, his partner, his support, his silent advisor, his motivator. But she was also his guaranteed refuge, the place where he knew that no matter what he did, he would always be welcomed with love, forgiveness, and understanding. Over the years, Joseph started becoming more distant. He was coming home late more and more often, his responses grew sharper, and his eyes more evasive. Beatrice tried talking to him many times, with love, with tears, with gentle reproaches, but his reaction was always the same. "You're exaggerating. Everything's fine." Until one day, Beatrice decided to do something different. It was a Thursday night. Joseph came home late again. Beatrice was sitting quietly in the living room with a soft light on. When he came in, she didn't stand up or ask any questions. She simply looked at him serenely and gave him a faint smile. For the first time in years, he felt uncomfortable and asked her, "What's going on? Why are you looking at me like that?" And Beatrice answered with a calm that radiated absolute power. "Nothing. I'm just observing and learning." Here's the brutal revelation of the secret. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a vibrational presence so intense that it forces him to face his own truth. Why does this work? Because when you react with tears, shouting, or accusations, his unconscious automatically goes on the defensive. His ego, his resistance, his walls all come up. But when you react with serene silence, his unconscious is forced to listen to itself. He no longer has your words as external noise to distract him from his inner truth. Silence is a mirror, and a man who lies cannot bear to see his reflection in the mirror of a woman who no longer needs explanations. Here are the keys to applying this power of silent reaction. 1. Breathe before responding. Every time you sense a lie, instead of reacting immediately, take 3 slow, deep breaths. This interrupts your automatic reaction and activates your sovereign vibration. 2. Look him straight in the eyes, without hardness, without fear. Your serene gaze emits a vibration that his unconscious cannot resist. 3. Don't explain what you already know. When you sense his lie, don't point it out with words. Your energy has already said it all. Speaking too much only diminishes your vibrational power. 4. Use vibrational statements instead of confrontations. Instead of saying, "I know you're lying to me," say, "I don't need explanations. My soul has already understood everything." Instead of shouting, "Tell me the truth," say, "Speak when your truth is ready to come out." These are not psychological tricks. They are energetic declarations that his unconscious experiences as a powerful summons to confess. 5. Withdraw with dignity. If his lie persists, don't argue. Gather your energy and step away. His silence without you will be the most terrifying sound his soul will ever hear. Beatrice practiced this secret for weeks, Every time she sensed his lies, instead of crying or begging, she looked at him silently, breathed deeply, and carried on with her life, cooking calmly, reading her book, watering her plants, knitting her blankets. But her silence wasn't indifference. Her silence was a vibration that said, I see you, I see your truth. And when I choose to leave, it will be without a single shred of doubt. 3 months later, Joseph, a man who never admitted anything, sat across from her, tears in his eyes, and said, I can't keep doing this. I know you know everything. I don't know when I stop deserving you. Here's the final integration of this secret. Silent reaction is not coldness. It's pure power. It's not about keeping quiet to manipulate him. It's about staying silent because your soul no longer needs words to confirm what it has always known. Because a man can ignore your words. He can resist your shouts. But he can never escape his own conscience reflected in the silence of an awakened woman. Listen closely, because as always in the final conclusion of this journey, we're going to seal this power so that from today onward, no man will ever see you again as someone he can lie to, but as the woman who sees everything and whose very presence forces him to live in his truth. You don't need to scream to uncover his lie. You don't need to chase down his truth with desperate questions. Your gaze, your silence, your intuition, and your energy already see it all, because the woman who trusts her intuition and observes in silence becomes a mirror so clear that no man can hold his own lie in front of her. Comment below, today I choose my intuition as my greatest truth. Declare it and let your soul remember this power that has always been yours. Because from today forward, you will no longer be the woman who doubts her perceptions. You will be the woman whose very presence awakens the truth he is so afraid to reveal. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to leave your powerful like, subscribe, and don't forget to activate the bell. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.